Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the Town of Chatham Historical Commission meeting, March 15th, 2022. We have a couple of announcements to make before we start. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman at this time. Seeing none, we will proceed. The meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and shall afford adequate alternate means of public access via Microsoft Teams by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 632-461-484#, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams to the link posted in the agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access and will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak on any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. The process is kind of simple. We'll do roll call, citizens and board member participation, calling in will use their name, their last name, or the last four digits of the phone number for identification purposes. So, having said that, our first or next item of it is the roll call. Bob Lear, Vice Chair. Not present. Steve Burlingame.
Here.
Thank you. Ben Solozinski.
Here.
Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Jane Moffett. Not here. Don Aikman.
Here.
Sandy Porter.
Here.
And Jane Tennyson.
Janet Tennyson. Here.
Tennyson, sorry about that. And the chair is here. So we do have a quorum. And if I have, Janet, you were the alternate at the last meeting,
Yes.
according to the minutes. So Sandy, you are the voting member. Sandy?
Maybe.
Miss Porter?
Yes?
You're the
I
voting
heard
member.
you. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is the minutes. Is it the minutes or are the minutes? From February 15, 2022.
These are.
Excuse me?
These are.
These are.
These are the minutes.
Thank you very much. Nice to have an English, we're an English teacher?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten, no. Okay. More important. Okay, so these are the minutes. Everybody has a copy. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions?
I move approval.
I second.
Second? Okay, so I have a motion, second. So, and no changes, so we'll take a roll call on the minutes of February 2015. Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy was absent. Janet?
Yes. Yes.
And the chair also abstains. So motion is passed. Okay. We have an agenda which consists of one hearing and a number of, one new business item and a number of old business items. And as the chair has been absent for a while, I want to bring up a couple of issues in terms of status and some new issues for future agenda items. So what we'll do very quickly here is here application 22002 to be heard in accordance with Chapter 158 of the Demolition Delay Bylaw. This is for a full demolition of 3 Oyster Drive, filed by JLA Architects, 103 Central Street, Wellesley, Massachusetts. Okay. This is your big chance. Before you begin, let me just, for the public and for the members of the board, just note that this home, I guess, is just 75 years old, meeting our criteria, but there's no Form B, or nor was it a no on the survey. We can,
Somebody's got their mic on.
I'm sorry?
Somebody's got their mic on.
Yeah.
You're getting feedback.
Who's representing the applicant?
The applicant's here today in person. That's Charlie. It's not a seminar, and our office is here as well for JLA.
Okay. As much as I'd love to let you walk through this whole application, and which you did a good job, you get an A- on the application, very complete. We like that. We do this on a two-step process. I don't think you've ever been before us, is to first determine the historical significance of the property. If the Historical Commission determines that the property is historically significant, then we will get into the discussion of your application and whether or not we feel we want to impose a demolition delay on the property or not. If we find the house is not historically significant, you can proceed. There is no further action by the Historical Commission which would put a demolition delay in or anything else, so you would proceed with your application for the demolition. So having said that, there was a site visit. I think most of the members, if not all of the members, except possibly Steve, you were out of town, visited the site. And the purpose for the site visit is to just reaffirm what the property is, whether you feel it's historically significant, and whether or not we want to pursue that further. So I think what I'd like to do is first have a discussion as relative to the historical significance, noting there is no Form B and it's no on the survey. So why don't we do that? I'll start with Janet. Do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I think that, well, it is historic. It is historic, obviously, but I think its age is about the only significant portion of that that's necessary for us to consider, I would say.
Okay. Steph?
I don't think it's historically significant.
Thank you. Don?
I do think it's historically significant because the history of the neighborhood and the age of the house, it's one of those cottages that were built 75 years ago or thereabouts, and that whole neighborhood is made up of cottages that were, or former cottages, that were part of Chatham's history. So I do believe that it is historically significant.
Steph, you felt it was? No, it was not. That's what I thought. Okay, I'm going to continue to poll the rest of the members who are not here. Mr. Lear's not here. Steve, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with Don. I think we have to have a consensus as to this whole neighborhood. The neighborhood is historically significant. There's a whole, it's a collection of houses. It's part of what Chatham was back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. I think we're going to go one way or the other way. If we say that it's not historically significant, then I would guess that any house in that neighborhood is not, and the whole neighborhood changes. On the other hand, if we go piece by piece, or house by house, then we have a chance of maintaining what that neighborhood has been. It's its own historical significance. So I would agree with Don. that the neighborhood is, and the house being part of the neighborhood, that it is part of a historically significant neighborhood, and so individually it is as well.
Okay, good. Ben?
I don't think it's historically significant because it looked to me as if it's been modified so that whatever cottage remnant was there wasn't there. So I agree with the neighborhood itself being historically significant. However, because of so many modified houses, I'm not sure we can sell that. And I don't think this place is historically significant because of its previous modifications.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you done, Ben?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Sandy?
I agree with Ben. I take it this is one of Horn's cottages? Does anybody know?
One
Part
of,
of the cottage, one of the
This
Horn's
is
cottages.
a Rudnick built this property, not the Horns.
Oh, okay. It was a cottage colony down there, and the neighborhood itself I find historically significant, but I am having a hard time finding the house historically significant. So
Okay.
I have to agree with Ben, I think. Yeah.
okay, right now we kind of have a tie. Well, Sandy, you're voting. Janet, you're not voting.
All right.
If I remember that correctly.
I'll say one more thing.
Okay.
It did, originally it was 935 square feet, and now it's been modified to the point where it's how many thousand, over 1,000 square feet. So it's already been modified beyond a cottage look. And if you look around the neighborhood, it's shocking.
So you feel it doesn't apply, so historical significance?
I think it's
Flip a coin.
gone. I
Okay.
think it's,
right.
and it's going to be gone. But
right.
anyway.
Yeah, and I guess, my feeling is, I agree with your comments, and everybody's, I think you're right on. This area, certainly should have had a Form A, an area form, 20, 30 years ago when the Historical Commission was into that, and, we've done it with South Chatham now. Hopefully we'll get a National Register designation, but this is one of many cottage communities in Chatham, and quite honestly, I'd love to say it's historically significant and proceed with the efforts to make some kind of designation as an area designation, but I don't know if we could do that. I mean, quite honestly, it's no longer Chatham down there. It's North Carolina, and some pretty weird houses. But, when I say that, I'm not denigrating the applicants or the architect for what they're proposing to do. It's a necessity relative to, this could be a houseboat. It's in the VE, I think it's in the VE zone.
It is.
So, I would take your money, go buy a boat, but I know you'd rather live there. So anyway, I guess my feeling is that the ship has sailed. Oh, wow.
Could I make a motion?
Yeah, 1 second, let me just finish. And it's something that we have to consider in the future. And the point I was just trying to make, Steph, is that I don't feel it's historically significant. I don't think we should stand in the way of what they're trying to do here for other reasons, which are the issue of the velocity zone and the flood zone, et cetera, et cetera. But as a commission, like we have nothing else to do, we might want to think about the other cottage communities. White Pond, even on my street in South Chatham, there's a couple of, really nice cottage communities in there, and we should deal with them collectively, not individually. So I would also agree, that specifically this doesn't contain sufficient architecture or detail individually that we could make the case for it being historically significant alone. Sorry, that was a speech. Having said that, I guess we're ready for a motion,
It's a positive motion, right?
a positive that you
So
feel.
I would like to make a motion that 3 Oyster Drive is historically significant.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. So the motion on the floor is that it is historically significant. I don't know if there's enough votes to carry it, but we'll see where we are. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, yes,
Mr. Chairman, Jacob Lilly from JLA Architects. If you don't mind, just wanted to interject one piece here. I'm a fellow Historic Commission member for the town of Wellesley. I've reviewed your bylaws. A lot of them are very similar to what we deal with. I think one of the things, too, for the board just to keep in mind is when we look at the determination of houses to be seen if they're deemed historically significant, one of the variables is its neighborhood context, and I know you guys have been weighing in on that. One of the factors that I think is going to be very challenging, not just for this project, but also your endeavors to try and respect cottage communities, is that Chatham, unlike many other communities, is going to have their hand forced a little bit by the federal government here in regards to houses that are in the VE zone. And as these houses become lifted, it changes the context of the neighborhood. And that is a reality that is unfortunate in the sense that it will modify and alter the housing stock that resides in these communities. But it's also a reality that has to be addressed, just like communities like Louisiana need to address it, or else their housing stock and people's well-being and safety, are at risk. And, it's a very unique case study in that sense that you can't necessarily, in my opinion, look at these houses in, under the microscope of are we, not affected by these lifting variables. And that, for the board, I would imagine, if I was in your chair, would make it very challenging. But I just mention it because it is a reality, and I think you guys probably will have your hands full thinking about these cottage communities and how to deal with that component, because it is an altering condition that is not minor in any way, shape, or form. But I just thought I'd mention it for the record.
no, I appreciate it. One thing, I don't know if you did, was hard for me to hear. Could you introduce yourself, your name, please?
Yeah, so I'm Jacob Lilly from JLA Architects. I'm the principal of the firm working on this project, and I'll tell you, it's been a joy to work on it. We have a cottage community in and around Wellesley, believe it or not, that was old vacation home.
Okay. I missed the first part. You are on the Wellfleet Historical Commission?
I am. Yeah, I'm a member of the Wellesley Historic Commission. I'm a board member.
Good.
And I found a ton of interest in studying these buildings. They just have such a wonderful human scale to them, an intimacy, and they are obviously of a period that has gone by, and in a town where we just see nothing but very large houses coming in day after day. To kind of work on this house in this kind of cottage community has been a gem. And I think that's what the board will find down the road and the town will find, is that we've tried to respect the DNA of these communities, the kind of the wonderful kind of sensibility that was done on a cottage side house, and bring that into what we're proposing. But at the end of the day, we are forced into lifting the house up, and in doing so, it changes all the variables. The communities become changed, the housing stock becomes changed. Even if you took this pre-existing house and you lifted it 13 feet in the air, it changes everything, and that's just a reality.
Yeah,
And,
I agree with you, and I think your comments are well put. Relative to that, we really don't have drawings of what you're proposing to put there. I mean, you've got some nice words about, keeping the scale and everything, but we don't see it.
Yeah, well, my understanding, Mr. Chairman, and if I'm wrong, apologies, but my understanding is that you folks were basically just making a determination, and that if it was determined to not be preferably preserved, at that point, we would then provide drawings
All
to
right.
the town for zoning and
I got you.
and for wetlands, who would be
All right.
weighing in on that.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and quite honestly, I was going to ask you if you had any wanted to say anything relative to the historical significance, but having said that, all right, we have a motion, we have a second, and the motion, very simply, is that the home is in fact historically significant. So have that, we're going to do a roll call. Mr. Burlingame?
Yes,
Yes, the house is historically significant.
that's correct.
Okay. Ben?
No.
Stephanie?
No.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
No.
And the chair, and I guess that's it, and the chair votes no. So we've determined 1, 2, 3, 4 to 2 that the property at 3 Oyster Drive is not historically significant. As a result of that, I know you'd love to make your presentation, but it's not necessary. So are those the applicants underneath there? I'm looking at the screen.
Yes, that's us, if you can hear us.
Okay, so-
I'm Charlie Sapanero, my wife, Tanaz. And just real quickly, we've owned the house across the street for 20 years. And, we love the area.
We were engaged there. We raised our children there.
We're invested in the area, and we have also been, privy to the flooding down there. And, but anyway, we're excited to be in this area long-term, hopefully generationally with our kids. So we're excited about this project.
Well, the only thing we don't have to welcome you. You're already here. But I would ask for a refund to the architect. I mean, he did all that work and he doesn't have to present it. So I think you should give you credit. Okay, at that particular time, thank you very much. It was nice to meet you, sir. And hopefully we'll see you again before the Historical Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. All right, guys, get ready. Here comes Frankie. I feel like I'm a talk show host, with the cup, but there's nothing in here but water. All right, we have some business items we need to discuss. The first item is in the new business is the discussion of remote versus hybrid. And I'm gathered from what I was told in the past that you guys had some discussion. And we have decided, at least from the previous discussion, our next meeting, because we had to advertise it, would be hybrid. My recommendation is that we'll continue. In other words, for those of us who want to be here, I prefer it, and as long as masks, no masks, et cetera, we can be careful. But for those members who are traveling, and a lot of them are traveling, or just can't make it in, we continue with the hybrid. We always have little sticky issues as it relates to the IT, but it's always worked out by Dallas and Mark. And so we'll continue with the hybrid. And if I'd like to make a motion to that effect, generally, that we continue.
I'll second.
Second? All right, a quick roll call, just so we know. Steve?
I'm in favor.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie, yes. All right, Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And Janet?
Yes.
Yes, okay, and the chair votes yes. All right, so that's where we are. We'll continue with that process. I think it's probably the best thing for us and for the town. All right, we have some old business items, and you're going to have to put up with me. And, I know, relative to meetings, everybody, at least 3 or 4 of us, have put in to Michelle, and we got Sandy, Steve, Don, and Stephanie, your vacation schedules. Now, I just want to ask, we may run into a problem in April and not having a quorum. So Michelle's going to put a memo out. If you could please indicate whether or not during your vacation you could be available via hybrid, and I see a no already, okay. Unless you're on the, if you're fishing, you could, no, you can't do that. All right, so we need to know that, whether or not we can, you'll be available, or else we may have to cancel some meetings, all right? So we may not have a quorum. Okay. That is that. Under new business, old business rather, preservation awards for fiscal year 2022. we have 3 chosen awards that we know. We're going to have our final meeting tomorrow at 10:30 of the Preservation Awards Committee, and we will have an event on May 15th. I think it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you will be getting invitations. We'll do it short and sweet, and we're currently planning, and we'll confirm it tomorrow, rather than being in the restaurant or CBI as we've done in the past, because it's just 3 applicants, we're planning to hold the event at the Atwood in their barn, just a simple presentation. So just for information and the public's information. The hard work now is all being done by Michelle and staff on the invitations and then the panels, and we have these meetings, we make decisions and hand it to Michelle. Can you do that? So everything's set for that. If no other comments, the next 2 or 3 items relate to the CPC. It's almost like, what happened? We were successful in 3 of the items as it relates to, but the Community Preservation Committee has taken a position in not allowing us to proceed. Can you give me some more information, Steph? Was it
That's exactly what would happened.
Was it unanimous,
It was unanimous.
including yourself?
Yes, it was.
You too?
Yes.
You don't feel that we should be proceeding?
No.
I think we need a new member to the, well, I mean, Steph, you voted for us to proceed.
It wouldn't have mattered how I voted. I knew that.
Well, yeah, but,
So to make it unanimous, didn't matter.
well, I guess it matters to me in the sense that I think they're dead wrong, and they're, considering we've had at least 10 or more years. Could you ask your wife to respond to my email? If we get a chance?
I will.
Yeah, okay. We've been doing this for at least 10 years. It's been the main funding portion for the Historical Commission on surveys and everything else. And if that's not the case, let me finish. The reason I'm so annoyed about it is there are many, many communities on Cape Cod who do exactly that. And they allow it. So it's not, it's an interpretation, and it's the commission, the committee, can make that determination, and it could go forward. It's not breaking a law.
We checked with the Massachusetts laws, and it really, when it was carefully explained, it sounded, we really could not. Maybe the others are doing it, but they really shouldn't be.
Okay. It's not, my argument's not with you, Steph, or maybe it is a little bit, but the fact that a lot of, I wouldn't say majority, a lot of communities are doing it, and they have interpreted the same law that you guys are interpreting one way, a different way. And I think it's putting a burden on the town.
I think one of the big problems this year was that we had too many applications to go with the money.
I don't disagree with that, but you could still.
So we had to pare things down.
Yeah, all right, but that's not the reason that I'm being given. I'm being given that it's legal to do it, and that's where my argument is. So I guess I'll take it the next step, which is the Board of Selectmen and Sarah Peak. Yes, sir.
I recall that there was an opinion by town council, and that it was not legal.
So there was an opinion by town council.
I think so.
Yes, there was.
All right, can you share that with me?
Town council did not feel we should do it either.
Can you share that written opinion?
I don't have it on me right now.
Okay, fine, because I would like to take that written opinion to our state legislature and see if we can change the law. Simple. We've done it before. Having said that, I see our select person, Mr. Dean DeCastro, is here. Dean, on this issue, I would like to just make a very strong point with you, and then again with the Director of Community Development, who's not here, Ms. Donovan, that if in fact this is the interpretation of the Community Preservation Commission, that the town of Chatham, yourself and Ms. Donovan, have to now budget I'd say at least $20,000-$30,000 a year to the Historical Commission, because the other funding source, which community preservation, for us to do the work that we do, is no longer going to be available. I mean, unless you just tore everybody off the committee and we put new people on, but I don't think you're going to do that. So having said that, I would just like to put my oar in the water to say, I really would like to have a detailed discussion with yourself and Ms. Donovan that now, is the budget already gone? I guess so.
Mr. Chairman, we approved the budget, sent it to the Finance Committee. We getting the proposals from the recommendations of the CPC this Thursday. They're all going to be presented to us by the CPC chair, I guess, and others. So we don't really, other than those proposals that we ourselves submit to CPC, we don't see the details of anything until they come before us. So the one you're talking about, I think I understand generally what it's about, but we've never seen that except in prior years. I would suggest what you might want to do is, I'm happy to sit in on a conversation with you and Katie Donovan, but you might want to come before the select board.
Yes.
And request an agenda item to discuss it. We could take it from there.
I was planning to do that either, tonight or Thursday. Maybe Thursday's more appropriate because that's when you're discussing the CPC.
Yeah, you could request it during it's that, by the way, that is going to be a virtual meeting only.
Right, I saw that.
You could request it during let me see, I have there is a public announcements and agenda item request item on there, so you could do it then. I don't myself always agree with the recommendations of the CPC. I know one I'm going to challenge, or disagree with. I guess I can't challenge it. It has to go forward, I think, this Thursday. But that would be the route to follow.
Okay. On the positive note, thank you very much, Steph. The three projects, the Nickerson Family Barn was approved. The Lattice Towers was approved, and I think we saved a lot of money here when we realized we could move the tower, pick the tower up and move it.
That was great.
Yeah, that was sort of serendipity. I was talking to Robert Nickerson, who happens to own a company that does that, and he said, we could move that, and we said, what? So it looks like we're going to be able to pick the tower up and move it.
Yeah, great.
Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is a contributing structure to the National Register District, which means we have to review and approve it, and because it is moved, it has to go to the Cape Cod Commission. And I had a brief discussion with Sarah Peak, and she says, yes, the full commission has to vote on it. So I don't think it'll be a problem because we're obviously going to be saving the tower, but it's just a process we should go through. And the third one, what was the third one, Steph? The barn,
Wasn't the barn in two, it was relocation and the slacking? Shell Drive?
Yeah, Shell Drive. All right, so that was the other one. So that was the three that were were approved. Well, thank you very much for your good work. Get a B-.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, enough of that. I will be having discussions with Ms. Donovan relative to funding two items which we didn't get CPC funds. One is the Form Es. Steve, you saw the emails?
I did. The last communication I had with you was you were pretty certain that leftover CPC funds were available for this project. And I've just been awaiting the assurance that is the case, that they are available in an amount to cover the cost of it. And if that's a certainty, then I'll move forward with Craig Sharp here and get a proposal signed by him.
It would have to be put in for next year.
No, we have some potentially funding available on the Form Bs that we did. But that's something we have to work out with Alex and Katie. So that potentially is something we could proceed with. The other element is the funding for the National Registered designation of the Nickerson Family Association site. And again, I will talk with Katie to see if we could proceed. That's not much. It was like $6,000, and it just blows my mind that the CPC couldn't find $6,000. Enough of that. Okay. The demolition by neglect, Steph, I spoke with Ally and after town meeting. So we should address that. In fact, it's interesting because the town, Mr. Nicastro, you're also talking about potentially some bylaw as it relates to property maintenance and care. And what we're talking about here is potentially a bylaw as it relates to property maintenance relative to historic properties. So it's very possible that as the Board of Selectmen proceeds, we may be able to tie in, something.
Frank, which bylaw are you talking about? I'm not familiar with the one that we're supposed to be working on.
Well, I read in first of all, we're proceeding with the historic, right, or will be proceeding. What the town, and if I didn't listen to the meeting, but I did actually read in the paper that because of some of the maintenance issues as it relates to some properties and the town needing to potentially get funding, that the town was considering a bylaw or an amendment as it relates to property maintenance on properties which did not meet the health and safety requirements.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a Board of Health. Yeah, that's a Board of Health. It's actually going to be on the warrant, creating a fund to allow the Board of Health funding when they need to clean up a property that is a health hazard. It's not quite the same thing. The Board of Health has the authority right now to declare a health hazard. That may not be the accurate term. And they initially would like the property owner to do the cleanup, but they have the authority to do it themselves, but they need funding for that, and that's so they needed an account that would provide for that funding, and that's what we put forward. It's really not a town bylaw.
Okay, well, the connection back to what we're proposing, in my experience in another town that has the bylaw for this kind of activity, you may have a property maintenance issue on a home or an historic or a non-historic home, and the applicant refuses to or does not make the repair. Now, it can, a leaky roof, things like that. And it's an issue that has to be discussed, but you have the same question. And I know what we did in the other town is we put a lien on the property and then did the work, paid for the work. But without going into detail, it's just something that needs discussion.
Yeah, the lien process is also present currently, I think, in the statute for the Board of Health in those areas. I suspect there could be crossover issues. So you might want to ask, well, I assume your commission is going to propose something?
In the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't actually, we've done research. Steph is leading it with Ally, and we wanted to get through town meeting, and then we're going to look at it. And there are other communities who have these kinds of bylaws, and that's what I was talking about.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item was the National Registered District of the South Chatham Village. The problem is it's taking so long because the COVID, and there's been a major reorganization within the Mass Historic. Betsy Freeberg, the director, has left. I don't think she's been replaced yet. So I had a conversation this morning with Eric Dre, our preservation consultant, and he said, we just have to wait until they work things out, for it to happen. We haven't had anything negative on it, but just, questions. Yes, Steph?
Who paid for the update for the South Chatham Historic District?
I think the CPC did.
Because we couldn't find anything, so
Yeah,
that's,
they did. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, in Monomoy Theater Properties, 776 Main Street. I've had conversations with Greg Clark, the owner of Alexandra Properties, and Greg called me, he's contrary to the fact that there's somebody wants to buy the property and, that's not happening. The Alexandra Properties has begun the theater design. They have preliminary design in process on the theater and on the Washington building. I think it's called Washington Taylor Building, on the one on Main Street. And so they're moving ahead. And the reason for my conversation with Greg Clark was the fact that, they were attempting to get both federal and state tax rebates when a company, a business restores an historic property, and these are historic properties, but there's a lot of forms to be done. Now, the Historical Commission, proceeded and received from Mass Historic a preliminary assessment that these could be eligible. We never followed through, because in order for that to happen, the owner had to do it. And that time, the property was changing hands. And then, I guess 3 years later, COVID and everything else, so nothing has happened. But now that things are happening, and the property owner, Greg Clark, Alexandra Property, is in fact proceeding, he wants to go, proceed again, and he's going to need some assistance from from us, the Historical Commission. And I assured him that, as we have in the past, I thought we could be able to help and provide the necessary assistance and potentially approvals to assist in that tax rebate. The positive thing here is that there may be other historic properties that, somebody is interested in buying, and if in fact it is a company, a business, that they get a rebate, it's a great incentive. I mean, we always talk about the fact when people come before us, they say, well, can I get a tax rebate? Well, you can't for residential, but you can get a significant tax rebate up to 20% if in fact you're a company. And it's just something, that's the way the law is written. So another positive thing to note, the former Coast Guard boathouse, of course, CPA approved the funding for that, CPC and the CPA funds for the update and the repair of that building. So those repairs were completed on the building where it's currently stored. I can never remember the name of the town where it's stored. Quincy. And it's ready to come back. And more importantly, the town of Chatham has completed the design process of the upweller. I saw the drawings of the 60% design. Looks quite nice. And I think I'll share them when we can. I kind of got a peek at them. I don't know if it's public yet. Maybe Mr. Dean, has the selectmen reviewed this upweller design, the 60% review?
Not recently, no.
Okay.
No. We
So
had a presentation a few months ago.
Yeah, so I think it's reaching the point. I just got a peek at a work in process, but the thing I want to report, I guess, to the commission is that I think we're going to be happy with what they've done. In other words, the building will look like the building. They're not making any significant changes to the boathouse. They want to also potentially the red roof and the color, so it's going to look like the boathouse looked. And the upweller will all be internal, and there'll be a lot, there'll be walkways and stuff like that. But the building itself, I think it'll be a good win for us, Don. How many years we've been doing this? I think it was 10 years ago. Don and I started working on the boathouse. Getting old. Okay.
that's good.
68 Shell Drive. We talked about the fact that the barn has been flaked and will be hopefully moved in the next year or two onto the Nickerson family property when they get the necessary approvals. The house itself, unfortunately, the exterior of the house will look like it looked in 17, whatever it is, but unfortunately, the interior was completely gutted, and, it's a shame we couldn't find a way to save that interior, but yes, Steph?
Plus, they didn't have swimming pools then.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm done with that, guys. Just quickly, I will go quickly, I promise. Status of the, I don't think we have any correspondence, Michelle? No correspondence. Okay. What, you can give us an update on the demolition delay statistics?
Absolutely. The only thing that has changed from the last time we reviewed is that on February 28th, a building permit application was submitted for the construction of the main dwelling at 68 Shell, and then on March 1st, an application was submitted for the construction of a swimming pool. As of March 9th, when I last reviewed, both applications were still currently being reviewed, so those permits have not been issued yet. Otherwise, it's status quo.
Okay. Well, we're kind of done with that, but it was a good fight. At least we saved the barn. What can I say? We do have an administrative review,
Yes,
255 Old Harbor.
yes.
I forget how we do that. Does somebody has to move on it? Did we review that?
The full, the commission needs to ratify the determination of the reviewers, which was that an administrative review and approval was appropriate for this, this request. There are 2 porches on the structure currently that came to blunt ends. The owner would like to connect.
Do me a favor, talk into the microphone. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. There are 2 porches currently on the structure that come to blunt
Oh, I
ends.
remember
They're
this
close
Okay.
in proximity. The owner would like to connect the 2 via a roof and, of course, the decking. And both reviewers felt that the request was appropriate and that in keeping with the style and, the house.
That was Don and Bob independently?
Yes.
Okay.
Don, do you have anything you'd like to add that I might have missed, or?
No, I just noticed that there was a house on, around the corner that had the 2 porches connected, so it's typical of buildings that are in that neighborhood. So I would move that the commission approve the review by the
Administrative review?
administrative review.
Thank you.
I could second that. Any other discussion? Okay, we needed a roll call, if I can find my roll call sheet. Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes?
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. This is working pretty well, this administrative review. And we have on our issues on hold the discussion of the 75-year-old threshold for acceptance. And, I think we as a commission, like we have nothing else to do, have to, at some point in the near future, sit down and really address that issue. Because we often say, like we had that house today, and I don't know, most of River Bay is going to be 75 years old, and we have to make a decision. And the decision is, for my mind, is we're going to roll everybody up to the commission every time they want to make a change in River Bay? Or do we decide on some way to deal with that? And I had a discussion with Eric Dre, our preservation consultant, who did the survey, the townwide survey, and we relied on it. When Eric said no, we usually say the house has no historic significance, and we don't take it absolutely. We have our own opinion, but we use it for guidance. And, possibly we need to take another look at River Bay, and not just us looking at it, but bring Eric in, a preservationist, a consultant, someone who's professionally can give us an opinion on how to deal with that. And one of the ways that, one of the ways that Eric talked about it is that, you could make a blanket. You could make a blanket and say, all these homes are not historically significant. Or we can do them individually. Or we could do something like the administrative review process, where the question of historical significance doesn't necessarily have to come back to the full commission. The problem with that is the fact that our bylaw says the commission's the only one who does that. So we have to talk about that. I'm sorry, Steph.
I just have a question about, aren't there other houses that fall into that 75-year?
Yeah.
So if we make just something for River Bay,
I was just using that as an example.
okay.
Yeah, and I was just, I agree. It's a major problem. And I think as a commission, we can be hard about it, or we can decide a better way to proceed for the community. So, I think we're going to talk more about it in the future. Last but not least, yes, Ben?
Frank?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got my hand raised. I think one of the problems you're gonna have with River Bay, we just got through with the one cottage colony, and this, I don't know if you could call it a cottage colony, but it certainly is a unique
Yes.
area in Chatham that's kind of interconnected. So in some ways, it's a colony, and in some ways, it's not. So I think that this will have to be included in any discussions or thoughts on what we're going to do here. And I guess Eric can look at that. But I just wanted to bring that part up, because when we talked about this last house that we were talking about today, it quotes the colony, and this is as much of a colony as we're going to get. Okay, that's it.
Well, good. Thank you very much. It's a good comments, Ben. I'm going to suggest that, we've got March and April and early May with a lot of vacations. So I'm going to kind of table this for potentially sometime in June, when we're back from vacation and we're all here and hopefully in the same room, and then invite Eric in to have this discussion. I think it's a good way to initiate that. Okay? Yes. Are you trying to ask me a question?
No, I'm just reminding you that there's something else.
Oh, yeah, I have that there.
Can't be in front of
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
That's my teleprompter.
Yes. Good one.
Okay. I sent out some information on an issue which was raised a number of years ago from, I guess, Save Our Sound, on why not Nantucket Sound as a national historic landmark, and there is a piece of legislation which is being filed in the federal government to do that. Now, I don't even want to get into too much discussion, because I sent you a lot of paper, and I was going to send you more. And I'd like to, at our next meeting, have some further discussion on that. And there's a long list of towns and communities that have, in fact, agreed and put their moniker down to support that legislation for the act. Now, I know I'm making trouble here, but that's my middle name. I believe the select board decided not to do that, and I don't remember the reasons, but I'd like to revisit that, at least the Historical Commission. That's a select board. We never made a determination, I don't think, as a commission, whether or not we agreed or not agreed with that. So anyway, I'd like you guys to look at the paper and, read it over and come up with your own thoughts. And I'd like to put that on the agenda for the next meeting under new business. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Uh-oh. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember that coming before the select board a couple of years ago, and it was during the pendency of the Monomoy refuge issue. My recollection, and it's distant, is that there were some concerns I know I shared about some limitations that were decided in the draft legislation. So we as a group felt it was not wise to go forward. I would suggest, and now of course we have an agreement with the feds on the refuge to keep things in status quo for the time being. I would suggest that when you take this up, you perhaps Michelle could get from Shauna the relevant minutes of the board meeting where this was discussed, so you have that information among your materials.
Thank you very much. He's a lawyer. He's so methodical. That was a compliment. Okay. Just a number of quick things relative to, not necessarily on the agenda, but I wanted just to comment. Mr. Nicastro, a number of years ago, came to me and said, we should do a Revolutionary War memorial. And from that simple question, a committee, a working group, I got to make sure, a working group was formed to look into it. And that working group, I believe, got a CPC grant, and they are now proceeding. And I'm on the group, kind of ad hoc, this working group, and we're finally a design of a plaque, and finally a design, as Don knows, of the rock. Did we choose the rock? Not yet.
No.
Okay. So we're getting close. So the current thinking is, this is for the members of the commission and the public, that Memorial Day, which is May 30th, God willing and all that kind of good stuff, we hope to have a dedication of the memorial, of the actual Revolutionary War Memorial. It will be located in Chase Park. One of the primary people on the plaque is good old Colonel Godfrey, and it'll be close to the windmill, Colonel Godfrey. So, this working group is working on I don't call it setting, a dedication, if you will. So you just put it on your calendar, and of course, that's the day the VFW has its Memorial Day ceremony. So we might be hooking up with that, so it's just a very positive thing, I think, for now and in the town. I just want to remind people, the select board tonight is at their meeting has our bylaw, the Historic Preservation Incentive Bylaw. So the select board tonight will be voting whether or not to approve it and put it on the town meeting warrant. It took us 3 years, but we got there, guys. Historic preservation is not for the faint of heart. Okay. So that's a positive thing. I think that's it, other than the fact that we potentially might have some openings in the future for this Historical Commission members. So think about that. It's that time of year where the people start to think about whether or not they want to remain on the board. I'm not sure whose term is up, but we always can use people on the bench, including your chairman. Okay. One last thing I just wanted to say, if I may quickly, we held a historic preservation roundtable with Sarah Korjeff and the Cape Cod Commission, and I think we had about 25 members of the various historical commissions in town. I was there, Michelle was there, but I guess for those members who have nothing to do with their life, when the next one comes up, they are good. It's usually about an hour. There's a lot of discussion of the workings of our historical commission, and this got good information. Yes.
I tried to apply and couldn't get on.
You couldn't get on? Really?
Really?
Oh. You mean the link in the email didn't work? Oh, I'm sorry about that. So anyway, it was a good roundtable. We had a lot of discussions. It's kind of interesting. The same issues and problems we have, everybody has, and everybody has a lot of different ways of approaching those problems and how to deal with it. So I think it just, for me anyway, it does let us know we're not alone, that we're all trying to do the same thing. So anyway, that was it. I will now shut up. Anybody else have anything more?
May I ask Dean a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Dean, what is the meeting on Thursday?
We have a select board meeting at 5:30 to clean up the warrant. We have several items that are coming forward. All the CPC articles are going to be presented to us for our recommendation and placement on the warrant. And there are, let's see, I have the agenda right here. There is also the waterways bylaw revision, polystyrene foam bylaw changes, and a capital authorization for Chatham Municipal Airport related to their project for abrogation easements, grant reimbursement. Those are the items.
I don't think
So-
CPC members know about this meeting.
Does Debbie know?
I think Debbie does know, because I've spoken
The
with
chair,
her.
the chair presents, usually the chair presents the, yeah.
I mean, everybody's welcome to participate, but I know Debbie knows because I've spoken with her.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. The members of the committee should be there or could be there if there is some, remember, the process at that point is not approval or disapproval. Technically, with all due respect to the select board, it doesn't matter whether they approve them or not. It's the town meeting, and they're just approving the fact of, should it go on the warrant? And,
Well, we
and
do
you know,
recommend-
sorry,
We do make a recommendation. I'm
make
sorry.
a
we do
recommendation. Yeah.
But you're right.
Yeah. In some towns, they don't do it that way. They do it by petition. So, anyway. Okay, I think a motion is in order.
I'd like to make a
I move we
motion.
adjourn.
Ben, she beat you. You got second.
Second.
There you go. Or is that with Steve? Thank you very much. Thank you, Steph. Okay, no further discussion, I'm sure. Steve Burlingame?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Nice to be back.
Nice to have the chair back.